What's happening, everybody? Another Thursday down, another week almost coming to a close. Hope everybody's having a good one so far. Welcome to Face Mask Fantasy as we continue along through the off season. We'll just make sure that this sounds okay. That's always the adventure we go on here. Let's see. I think we're good. I think we're okay here. I'll take it. As far as agenda today, I mean, it's that time as far as I'm concerned. Free agency is for the most part over, other than a couple of veteran running backs kind of just hanging out there waiting for something to happen, which is the deal with every offseason. Obviously, with the draft being over, I mean, at this point, some people may contest that it's too early to draft pre-draft. I always feel like I get some of my best value in best balls before the NFL draft, just because rookie ADPs are so skewed. They're so far down below just because people don't know who the names are. And even if you don't know who they are, just take them. Their ADP is like 180 pre-draft and 110 post-draft. With that said, for anybody who is not familiar with Best Ball, which I have to imagine most people who follow this channel are familiar with Best Ball, but if you're not, it's very similar to Redraft. It's for just the 2023 season. There's no dynasty involved here. It's straight redraft. The key here is there's no in-season roster management. So it's 18 rounds. You put a team together, one quarterback, half PPR, pretty standard lineup. One quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, a tight end, and a flex. I think that's it. No in-season roster management. So it's a credit to your ability to draft for the most part. Waiver pickups are not going to be a thing in any way, shape, or form in these leagues. So the random player who pops up in week 9 and goes nuts for the second half of the season, it more than likely is not going to impact the best ball leagues that you join. And it's a good way to hone your skills for redraft, as far as I'm concerned. Why do a bunch of mock drafts with some bots when you could just throw $1 on a best ball? And while the strategy is a little different than straight redraft, the concept here is very similar, right? You're building a team that you hope that can survive the duration of the season. Of course, it's a little bit more random, right? You have no control. If injuries happen, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and you're stuck with that player on your roster. So maybe you're not a fan of that. Maybe you're not a fan of the fact that you can't control your roster and you don't have any. You can't make adds and drops and all that good stuff. That's fine. Even if you're not into that, I think this is a good way to hone your preparation for your redraft league, and this is blown up to a point where there's multi-million-dollar contests that are available now because people like drafting. They enjoy just the nature of the beast, being able to draft. So we're gonna do that today. So you guys are gonna free to follow along as I go through my draft. If you guys have any feel free to put any input in. If you're like, you should take this guy, I'm happy to take input from the chat. If you've got, sound reasoning, like this guy's on the board, this is why I like him, happy to do that. If you haven't looked at ADP yet for the 2023 season, this will be your first kind of look at that. Even though it's May, things will shift, of course, things will change around. But to that point, you can hit on some pretty solid value at this time of the year as well. It works both ways. For every time you can be like, well, I don't want to draft now because like this thing could happen and I could get screwed. there's two sides to every coin, right? Well, why don't I just draft right now? If I get this guy in the 10th round and he becomes the starter because of an unfortunate injury, now all of a sudden I've got crazy good value and my team's looking really good even though I drafted it in May. There's two sides to every coin. So I am going to join, just to make this real fun and super high stakes, Underdog Fantasy, which is, I have to imagine, other than DraftKings and FanDuel, the most popular platform for doing best ball. And that's not limited to football. They have basketball, hockey, and baseball best ball, and all different types of daily contests. Great app, lots of fun to use. Like any of the other sports betting apps, it's location specific or based. Depends on your, wherever you live. Depends on the rules as far as sports betting and all that good stuff. But Best Ball Mania 4 is the current default best ball tournament that you can join. They have a couple of other larger stake ones. I think the Bulldog is like $500, and the Dalmatian is $100, something like that. They have other tournaments. They have other tournaments Underdog does with even higher stakes. But this is the one that most are joining. I mean, you can see this is approaching 700,000 entries. I think each account is limited to 150 entries, so still 150 times 25. I didn't pay attention to math class, but whoever wants to do the math, that's how much you can spend on this contest with the hope of advancing to the knockout rounds, which is the equivalent of the fantasy playoffs and redraft. And if you're able to advance your team, the higher the payout. So, fun little activity. Great. I mean, if you are a fantasy degenerate like I am, great way to spend time here and there during your off season. Play a little best ball, mess around, maybe win a little bit of money. Maybe. We'll see. So, we have a few people in here now. Again, hope everybody's got a good start to the week and looking forward to the weekend. Why don't we get an early jump on that by doing a fantasy football draft? So, thanks for coming along. Happy to hear any input from as far as the draft is coming up. Again, if you haven't done this before, I'm not going to know my draft position, and I'm only going to have 30 seconds to make a selection. So, probably going to be difficult to take real-time feedback, but please, by all means, feel free to interact, whether you like the pick I made or whether you dislike the pick I made. Like, this is the exercise. This is the activity. And of course, I'm as always, happy to take any questions in the chat, anything that pertains to fantasy, whether it's this draft or not. So why don't we go ahead and kick this off? I can't imagine this is going to take very long to fill. You can do 30 seconds per pick, or you can do a slow draft, 8 hours per pick. That's what I usually do this time of year. I usually do the slow drafts. That way I can let this marinate. I can take a little bit of time to think about what I want to do at each pick. But we can't do a slow draft in the time of a live stream. That's just not feasible. But what we can do is 30 seconds per pick. So this will probably take about an hour, maybe a little less. 18 rounds. It depends on how fast it moves. But yeah, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. It's still only 700,000 entries, and these are the possible number of entries. I guess the current entrance is 62,000. All right, so little confusing there, but it can hold almost 700,000 entries. So let's be one of those entries right now. It's a $25 entry fee, so a little steep. They'll have smaller entries, or they'll have smaller contests in the form of the puppy that show up here and there. Those fill incredibly quickly. So we've got on our left the board, and then of course up top is those who are going to be joining this draft with me. So if you have an Underdog account, I guess real quick, it looks like we're waiting for 8 people to fill, so this probably won't take too long, maybe a couple minutes, while we wait for some people here. If you've got an Underdog account and you're able to draft, by all means, feel free to join in. It'll link us up in this draft as we wait for this to fill up. So again, here's your, now just like that, there's one more person in there, so we're waiting on 7 people. So this'll go rather quickly, just like that, 6 people. Here's your board, color-coded, half PPR, early ADP. This will look very similar to redraft when it's all said and done. Maybe the one difference being the ADP of the quarterbacks. Studies and research has concluded that, even in one quarterback in best ball, it's not a great strategy, or it's a less foolproof strategy than in redraft to wait on quarterback, because you can't stream each matchup each week because you can't make any lineup changes. So the idea is to try to get a bulletproof quarterback, and at this point, ADP has caught up to that strategy. Teams are taking the top fantasy quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, before the second round is over in 12-team drafts. So that's one thing that you're going to see. Even in one quarterback in best ball, the quarterbacks are going to go much higher. And I've subscribed to that notion myself. I'm not afraid, if it makes sense at the end of the second round, to take one of these guys. Of course, not too far behind are other quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow are all going to be down here. Again, all being taken in the first 40 picks of the draft. Maybe Burrow slides a little bit below that, but it's not going to be much farther than that. And then the other thing you want to pay attention to and be aware of is variance. You want guys who are guys who can't hurt you when they are boom-bust players, so to speak. Guys that you can expect to have big weeks, but they also mix in maybe quieter weeks as well. In best ball, you want those guys, your spike week guys. The guys that will win weeks for you, but when they are, in weeks where they lose weeks, they're not going to hurt you in best ball, because if you draft well enough on those down weeks, you'll have somebody else who can help steady the ship and be just inserted into your starting lineup. And that is the beauty of best ball. If you draft well, there are no lineup decisions to be made. Your best performers are your starters, and that's the way it goes. So, waiting on just a couple more people to fill this draft, and then we'll get this thing off and running. Again, you will get real-time analysis and breakdown from me as this unfolds, regardless of what happens. I can talk about my draft. I can talk about what other things that are happening around me. And again, as always, happy to take questions or comments about anything, whether about the draft or not, in the chat. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. How's that startup going? And just like that, we are off and running. Or we are about to be anyway. Yep, there we go. So the draft is filled. Let's see where I'm at. Oh, wow. Okay, I have the turn. Okay, this is great. This is awesome. So I have the back half of the back half. I have the very end of this 12-team draft. So I get the snake. So I can go a variety of ways here, but obviously we'll let things unfold before I actually have to make a decision. We got some time here. So, and this is going to take about 20 more seconds before it actually starts off. What's going on, Theo? How's it going, man? Again, if anybody's unfamiliar with this, 30 seconds per pick. So it's going to be tough for me to interact with the chat real time. By all means, if you've got feelings about how things are unfolding, if there's a guy down the board where you're like, I think you should take that guy, like, go ahead, throw it in. Let's make this let's make this as interactive as you guys want to. And the draft is officially underway. Justin Jefferson goes 101. No surprise there. So this is half PPR, one quarterback, one running excuse me. That's not correct. It's one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Are your starters. I don't know why that's showing only QB, RB, wide receiver. Oh, maybe that's just like the number of players I have that I select at each position. That might be what that is. Yeah, I love slow drafts, man. I love slow and slow startups fit that bill as well. Man, Jamar Chase is going to fall to the 104. You rarely see that. That's a layup of a pick. If I had the 104, Jamar Chase is a layup of a pick. So Jefferson, Kupp, McCaffrey. I mean, it's some order of the same several players. That's absolutely bonkers. Jamar Chase falling to the 105. This guy is getting that guy or whoever that was just got an absolute steal. And maybe at 5 there's no such thing as steals, but Chase is my 101 this year. We have to remember this is a tournament, so the stakes are a little bit higher. Remember, it's a $25 entry with big cash prizes. So people are going to take their chances. They're going to swing for the fences on this, and they're going to do what they think makes the most sense, even if it's a crazy ceiling play. So seeing Josh Allen go 107 overall in one QB feels a little crazy. I mean, the idea there is it's about as safe a pick as you can get with about the highest ceiling you can get at the quarterback position. So, it all depends on your strategy. There goes Bijan 108. Again, anybody who hasn't looked at ADP yet, Bijan is a slam dunk first round pick in redraft at this point. He was falling into the top of the second round pre-draft. That's no longer the case. He's now a low-end first-round pick regularly, and I've seen him go even higher than that. I've seen him go as high as the 102. People are bullish on Bijan. He is the RB2 at the moment. Man, quarterbacks are going really high. I'm going to have my pick of the litter here with some really good wide receivers. Not to mention, I could get Taylor here. I could get Saquon. This is a tough spot to be in because there are so many good guys down the board that I am interested in grabbing here. A.J. Brown's ADP is at 9, so being at 12, this feels like a decent value here. Guy's a stud, top 5 wide receiver in the league. Being able to get him at the 112 feels really good. So I'll just let the clock. I start him. I'm just going to let that run out. I think I'm actually going to go wide receiver here. I don't have any shares of Davante Adams at the moment, and I'm not sure what's going to happen in Vegas. But what I do know is he's still one of the best receivers in the league. Doesn't matter who his quarterback is. I think he proved that last year. Garoppolo is a bit of a downgrade from Derek Carr, but I don't know if it's a significant enough downgrade where I'm worried about Davante Adams. I don't have any shares of him yet this offseason, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab him. And I'm just going to go wide receiver to start my draft. In half PPR, you have to start 3 of them. I'll take 2 dudes who are anchors there, and I'll keep it moving. So again, these picks, they creep up on you in a hurry. I wonder if I can show you guys the board as it's unfolding. Can I show you the board? I don't think I can show you guys the board, but you'll be able to see the scrolling. You'll be able to see the draft scroll. You'll be able to see a pick by pick. And, of course, you can see the best available players in the queue right here. Wow, the quarterbacks are going really high. This dude took 2 of them by himself, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So, again, you do see the strategies change here a little bit in best ball. This particular drafter who took Mahomes and Lamar feels like it's necessary to go high-end QB after high-end QB and let everything else kind of figure itself out. Now we're seeing a run on running backs. Jonathan Taylor falling to 19 feels like an incredible value there. I have been taking him higher, or I've been taking him around the turn pretty frequently. I did deviate a little bit today, grabbing Davante Adams for the first time this offseason, a player that I don't have any shares of. Saquon to 22. That's pretty nuts. Lots of running backs just plummeting down the board. And then, of course, what I try to do is I'm 15 picks away. So I'm going to just count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So my next pick, the 3-4 turn is going to be in this range. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to get a high-end quarterback. They're going real high off the board, but if I can get a Fields or a Burrow, I feel okay with that. And then we'll see which players are available to me as far as the backs and receivers. So Hurts goes at the 212. honestly feels like a value considering how high Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar went. Getting Hurts as the QB4 at the 2-3 turn, I would call that a win. I would call that a win. And then this late run. I mean, there was a run on wide receivers that I kind of helped, and then the quarterbacks went really high, 7, 10, and 15 overall. It pushed all the running backs back. Look at this. Eckler 17th, Jacobs 18th. That's ahead of his ADP, but that's fair. Taylor all the way down at 19, Saquon at 20. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts, man. Devontae Smith to 27, Pollard to 28. Yeah, I mean it's there goes Burrow. Yeah, the quarterbacks are jumping. If I really want a good one, I don't think Fields is going to get to me. I'm not really interested in Justin Herbert. Maybe call it a bad recency bias, but last year was, I mean, he was not good. He was not good. I know he was banged up last year. He was dealing with injuries, and Charger's going to Charger, you know. But the 2-3, or for me, it's the 3-4. The 3-4 turn feels a little rich for Justin Herbert this year. There goes Metcalf, and there's going to be some running backs available here. What I hope is that we don't see something crazy and this guy takes a third quarterback, takes Justin Fields. He still has to survive 3 other guys who haven't taken a quarterback yet. If I can get him, though, at this point, I will. There goes Henry. This person's going running back. Quite old-fashioned. There goes Ramondre Stevenson. I got to imagine this guy goes. I mean, you might as well take Mark Andrews. I was going to say, you have Lamar Jackson. Go ahead and take your stack with Mark Andrews. If Justin Fields is here, he's mine. I also would take Travis Etienne. I'm kind of hoping this guy goes gung-ho at wide receiver, even though he already has 2. He takes Fields. Damn it. All right. So I'm going to take Etienne. This feels like a decent. I mean, he didn't really fall because his ADP is 35. This is pick 36. But I feel like it's fine to take Etienne here. I might take Najee as well, just off of the volume, and just like secure a couple of running backs because I got my anchors at wide receiver. I think I'm gonna do that. There's a lot of good wide receivers here, but I got 2 dudes who I expect to be studs for me in A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams. Just hold down two of those 3 starting receiver spots most weeks. I don't feel like I need to reach for another wide, or not reach. I don't think I need to grab another receiver here. I think it's fine to grab Najee, just to secure a couple of running backs. Najee should get 300 touches, and getting him this low regularly this offseason feels like a pretty good value. He's not the most efficient guy in the world, but he gets the work. He gets the volume, and I'll just go ahead and bank on that. Plus, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, they were not good in the first half of the season in 2022. They were better in the second half of the season of 2022. So hopefully they can ride some positive momentum as far as Kenny Pickett's development, and Najee is a beneficiary of that. Plus, they addressed their offensive line with a pick in the first round. Was it Broderick Jones? Yeah, I mean, so they did what was necessary in theory for Najee to move up in the world. So after those picks, DJ Moore goes 38. That makes sense because he took Justin Fields, so he's building a stack. The guy who took Lamar is just taking the whole Ravens offense. J.K. Dobbins' ADP is 57, and he took him at pick 39. I mean, go get your guys, I guess, but like, I wouldn't have done that even if I had drafted Lamar. I like Amari Cooper at 40. I like Calvin Ridley at 41. Pretty good value there for guys who should be wide receiver ones for their teams. George Kittle over TJ Hawkinson is something that I'm a fan of. Kittle has perennially been better than Hawkinson, except for last year after the trade to the Vikings. Hawkinson is good. Hawkinson's really good, and he showed out real strong, especially after the trade last year to Minnesota. But I don't like taking him over Kittle, even though their ADPs are dictating that right now. So I'm okay with that Kittle pick over TJ Hawkinson. And that Gibbs at 43, that feels like a pretty good value. I will say, though, I'm not afraid to take David Montgomery several rounds later, especially with DeAndre Swift out of the picture. So I'm up in 9 picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm in this area. If I can get Trevor Lawrence, I would love that. And then, let's see. I could roll the dice on. See, I'm happy I got some of those running backs when I did, because as much as I love Aaron Jones, I'm not sure if he's going to fall to me, and obviously we have to see how effective he'll be without Aaron Rodgers for the first time. These other running backs I'm not really ecstatic about. Joe Mixon, and there goes Aaron Jones, so there you go. Joe Mixon is really enticing, but he's a difficult guy to pull the trigger on. The vibes have just been weird with him this offseason. He's been in the news for bad reasons. And then he just wasn't he had his worst year to date last year. And so he's getting older. I mean, it's still a great offense. He's still only 27. So you would think he has another year in the tank where he should be fine. But the vibes have just been funky around him. But we'll see. Christian Watson falling all the way to 52. Or that is low. Yeah, I mean, that's 10 picks later. I think that's a great value. Christian Watson's going to be a really good player in best ball. He's a spike week king, man. I mean, he proved that in the second half of the season. I know that was with Aaron Rodgers. You have to imagine Jordan Love is just good enough to get the ball to Christian Watson and let him just do his thing in space. I like Watson in best ball. I don't have enough shares of him, to be completely honest. I would like to get some more. So I'm up in 5 picks. Again, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to get to me, and he didn't. He didn't, just like that, as soon as I say it. So, all right, I'm going to have to punt quarterback. I'm not crazy about it, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. If I really wanted a high-end one, I needed to take one at the 1-2 turn, and I guess I just wasn't willing to do that. I was hoping Trevor Lawrence would fall to me. I mean, I don't think Kenneth Walker's getting to me at pick 60, but if this person doesn't have a running back yet, so it would behoove them to take Kenneth Walker. If they don't, I will. Wow, they took Rachaad White. Okay, I mean, hey, I love Rachaad White. I'm a big fan, but like, this feels like a great spot. Like, yeah, I'll take Kenneth Walker at the 5-12. Are you kidding me? I'm happy to do that. Like, yes, the Zach Charbonnet draft pick was a buzzkill, but I mean, when you let me get him at pick 60, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that. The next quarterback on the board is Deshaun Watson, all the way down at an ADP of 82. That's a little rich for my blood. Now we're in a spot where there's a lot of good receivers here, but there aren't a lot of none of these guys have good quarterbacks. Maybe Michael Pittman. Maybe Michael Pittman. I'm going to be a sucker here and take Terry McLaurin. Again, ADP has tumbled all the way down to around an ADP of 50. And he had a great season last year. Getting him in the 6th round as my 3rd receiver, I'll take that. I'll take that. Like, I'm fine with I know Kenneth Walker is now in an annoying timeshare with Zach Charbonnet, but this guy was getting pre-draft. Now, pre-draft, Kenneth Walker is a good example of we were drafting too early, right? Because he was going in the 2nd round. But I'm getting him now in the 6th. Like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. What this player is doing is very clearly just is all in on stacks. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson early, grabbing their running backs way ahead of ADP. I mean, I just don't agree with that strategy. And then taking Kadarius Toney to pair with to pair with Patrick Mahomes 10 spots above ADP. Taking Mark Andrews makes sense when you took Lamar Jackson. So it was good to create that stack, but just, man, I mean, I understand it with the wide receivers. Taking the running backs 10 to 15 picks above ADP is not something that I'm personally a fan of. Oh man. So this is the area that I'm going to be or that these are the guys that are most likely going to be available to me. I'd love to get David Montgomery as an RB4, especially that late. And then one of my I think one of my favorite values at quarterback is if you do wait this year is actually Dak. He's getting drafted as the QB 11. We've seen him put up top 5 numbers before. The team cut Zeke and added Brandon Cooks. This offense should hum a little bit more in 2023 with added weapons and at a deep at a decreased value. I like Dak Prescott this year, so if I can get him, I'm happy to take that. I'm happy to take that. These running backs are all going like way above ADP. This is a strange draft, but you're gonna get this in these tournaments. People are just gonna go reach down and get their guys, regardless of how they. Man, I'm not gonna get David Montgomery. Everybody's reaching for these running backs, and so there's my probably. I hate to say it, but that's my least favorite pick of the draft. Taking Javonte Williams in the 7th round. I mean, 13, 14 picks ahead of ADP when the vibes on him are already not great. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that pick. This feels Javonte Williams feels like a 2022 J.K. Dobbins. He's still rehabbing. He's working his way back from a severe injury, a significant injury, one that he's going to be spending a lot of time rehabbing. One that it's going to prevent him from doing actual football activities for most of the offseason. We might see a Javonte Williams in the second half of the season start to reemerge a little bit. I'm fine with Javonte in 2024. I am all the way off of him. I'm too worried about him for 2023. I will have no shares of a guy that I have been a huge fan of since he was drafted. Not this year. No, I can't get on the Javonte Williams train, especially when he's going 15 picks ahead of his ADP. I can't do it. So I'm 4 picks away. There's a lot of good wide receivers here that I did not expect to be available. There's also Dallas Goedert at a depreciated value down here. Well, so much for that. Okay, so I'll continue to punt on tight end. Evan Engram, kudos to Evan Engram on having a huge season last year. I don't want to take him at his significantly higher cost this year. I know an ADP of around 92 is not that expensive, but just do it again, Evan Engram. Great job. Calvin Ridley's getting added to the offense this year. Do it again, and then I'll draft you next year. I love Deontay Johnson at pick 84 if I can get him. There goes Dotson. Man, there's some good players here. I don't want... Oh, man. There's too many good players here. I'm going to continue to punt on... I'm just going to keep loading up on wide receivers and running backs, whether it makes sense or not. I'm grabbing Deontay Johnson here, and I'm grabbing David Montgomery here. Deontay Johnson is a 4th or 5th round talent in redraft, and he's going at pick 84 on a what was considered a down year last year. I expect him to be better this year. I expect that offense to bounce back this year because they played well in the second half of the season last year. So I'm going to take Deontay Johnson. I'm going to pass on Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott here, and I'm just going to play that punt game on quarterback, and I'll whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to get another running back here that I feel really good about. Later in the draft, at my next turn, I can pay attention to quarterback a little bit more. So David Montgomery, come on down. I didn't miss my pick. I queued him. Don't worry. Don't you worry, underdog. I feel great about David Montgomery at pick 85 at his ADP, considering all of the running backs that just got scooped way higher than that. So I feel fine about that. And then the Brian Robinson is the very next pick. You can have that. You can have that. I do like Alexander Madison, especially considering the rumors that Dalvin Cook is expected to be released. But with his ADP so close to David Montgomery, who is still, who's a much more proven player and should be in a much better offense in Detroit, I'll take Montgomery. So far, I've taken at the 1-2 turn, I took A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams. At the 3-4 turn, I took Travis Etienne and Najee Harris. At the 5-6 turn, I took Kenneth Walker 13 picks below his ADP. And then I took Terry McLaurin about 11 or 12 picks below his ADP. And then at the 7-8 turn, I took Deontay Johnson 7 picks below his ADP and David Montgomery at cost. I feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty good about my stable of backs, my collection of wide receivers. The next order of business, of course, is to address quarterback and tight end at this point in the draft. As it turns out, as it shakes out, probably going to be punting that position. We'll get 3 guys of each for cheap and just roll the dice on those guys. Another guy I'm not a fit. So here's the thing with these tournaments. If you do decide to do some underdog tournaments, they allotted a significant cash prize for the regular season winner. So the teams that score a lot of points through the first 14 weeks of the season, independent of the knockout rounds. That means all guys who are either coming in with a potential injury or with a potential suspension are off my board entirely. Javonte Williams, I mentioned earlier. Alvin Kamara, who we're expecting to get slapped with a lengthy suspension. Jamison Williams, who already got slapped with a lengthy suspension. These are the types of dudes I am not touching with a 10-foot pole. I do not want to have a guaranteed 0 in my on my roster for the first 5 or 6 weeks and put myself behind the 8 ball at one position when there's a significant payout after 14 weeks. So if you decide to do these tournaments, really want to consider if you actually want to invest in a player who you're not going to have for 4, 5, 6 weeks to start the season, maybe even longer for a guy like Kamara. Or maybe you have Javonte Williams that early, but he's a shell of himself because he's working his way back. He's getting his sea legs under him from returning from a significant injury. I'm avoiding these guys at all costs in these tournaments. Go for dudes who, at least right now, today, I know a lot of things can change. Go for the guys who you know today can help you week 1. It's going to make a difference. Like Michael Thomas. I don't want any parts of Michael Thomas. He's, lots of injuries the past couple of seasons, was shut down in the middle of the season last year. He's older. He's getting older, longer in the tooth, lots of mileage on lots of mileage on him and lots of injuries to boot. A guy that I'm avoiding this year. So I'm coming up in 5 picks. Some decent options down here. I was much more bullish on Kirk Cousins as an option last year than I am this year, but if he's available, I'm not afraid to take a chance on that. Except that guy just auto-drafted into Kirk Cousins. So there you go. There goes Elijah Moore. So Jamison Williams, I'm not touching. Man, am I taking the whole Steelers offense? I don't know if I want the whole Steelers offense, but I have Najee and now I have Deontay. I'm not opposed to grabbing Freiermuth. I like Freiermuth down here. Let's see what happens. Damn it. That guy no, that guy took him. All right, crap. Well, if Njoku's here, this guy needs a tight end too. Come on, don't make me continue to punt. Okay, he took Darnell Mooney. All right, I'll take Njoku to just to get a tight end. Man, and I could take a quarterback here. I think I will. I'm gonna take David. I'm gonna let the computer take David Njoku. I have him queued, so now I have a tight end. So I'll live with that. And then let's see here. I'm gonna go either Rodgers or Geno Smith, just so I can get my quarterback, just to get a guy. I don't have any Jets. I don't have any. Oh, I do have Kenneth Walker. All right, Geno, come on down. Getting drafted over Aaron Rodgers, getting paired with Kenneth Walker. It's not a true stack, I understand, but grabbing guys in the similar offense, I'm okay with that. Or in the same offense, I'm fine with that. Giddy up. Iron, you're at the 209. Okay, you do get the third round reversal. That's the way startups should be. Do you trade for the 210 and add Kelsey to your stash already? I mean, yes. What's the is it the Iron? Is it the 209 for the 210 and Kelsey? What's going on, Scott? Good to see you, Scott. Thanks for coming in. Is that what the trade is, Iron? If you're moving back one spot to pick up Kelsey because there's somebody there, I mean, then yes, I would do that. Yeah, the pressure's on you to win the first year, but then you'll have your draft picks to trade midseason for those pieces to put you over the top. I would. I love watching this guy build his team. It is Stack City. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, taken with picks 10 and 15, respectively. Crazy. Dobbins and Pacheco, multiple picks above their ADP. Kadarius Toney, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, the whole, and then Sky Moore. Oh my God! And then Mark Andrews, a tight end. This guy doesn't have anybody on his team other than a Raven or a Chief. You gotta respect it. Absolutely nuts. See, so like you see these guys are falling all the way down the board. Like Jamison Williams, pick 113 overall. I'm not touching Jamison Williams in these tournaments, man. I know I'm getting a guaranteed 0 from him for the first 6 weeks. And with the cash prize that is available to you after week 14, it behooves you. I mean, go for everything. You can, of course, obviously with we're all playing for a week 17, payout, but if you can get the week 14 payout, you're not going to be upset about that. There's some good values for running backs down here. I like Rashad Penny all the way down at pick 117. I love Antonio Gibson down here at pick 116. And I like Samaje Perine down here at 119. I'm not a fan of Javonte Williams this year, so grab Perine 50 picks later. I'm not crazy about Brian Robinson, so grab Antonio Gibson a few rounds later, 40 picks later, 30 to 40 picks later. There's some good value down here. What's this little note on Devon Achane? There's a little note. There's a little update with him. What is that? I'm 10 picks away. I can check this out. What is this Achane note? Or he's got a little thing right here. Why can't I read it? Maybe Sleeper has something? Oh, man, now I'm... well, there he goes anyway. Maybe Sleeper has it. What's this Achane? What's the little update? I don't see anything. All right, anyway, moving on down the list. I like Tyler Boyd at pick 123. That's a great that's a really strong value, and Boyd is Boyd has got huge upside if anything happens to Chase or Higgins, so real nice spot there. I'm 5 picks away. Let's see here. It's getting a little slim pickings at the quarterbacks. I got 3 guys ahead of me who only have 1 quarterback selected, so I have to imagine Jared Goff is going to go. Juju Smith-Schuster going at pick 127. I don't love Juju, but it's pretty good value there. If I can get Goff, I'm going to do it. Let's see what happens here. I have Geno. It would be nice to be able to pair him with Goff, just like a couple of vet quarterbacks to lean on. I don't have any Lions. Oh, I have David Montgomery. Okay, so I can continue to build, like, not real stacks, but same offense. Q Jared Goff just in case. If I can't get him, then... Well, I can get him. All right. Here, let's see. So I'm going to cue Jared Goff, and this is just, I'm going to look down the board and see what I have here. I kind of like Roschon Johnson here. I think he's got a real chance to be a significant part of that backfield, more than he's maybe getting credit for right now, at least as far as his ADP is concerned. This would put me at 5 running backs and only 4 receivers, but I got 2 anchors to start the draft in A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams. So again, when you draft 2 dudes back to back at the same position, the idea here is you're hoping they carry you. So this allows me to allocate resources in another area. I am going to grab Roschon Johnson here, just get some rookie legs in my stable of backs, and a guy that I'm probably not going to necessarily need to rely on week 1, but a guy that could help me in the second half of the season at the position. I'm gonna roll the dice and get my first share. I guarantee that guy right after me, he just took Donta Foreman. I guarantee he wanted Roschon Johnson because he has Justin Fields. I remember because he sniped me. Theo, as far as how long I'm staying on, I mean, so this will be, we're in the 12th round. We got 6 more rounds to complete, 6 rounds plus this one to complete. So should be another 20 minutes here or so. I'm happy to stay on if anybody's got questions or anything you guys want to talk about specifically. If there's not really anything else, might call it after the draft. But happy to talk shop on anything specifically, even after the draft. Happy to do that. And of course, I can be available in the Discord tonight if anybody wants to talk shop on anything. You guys know. Damian Harris at pick 138 feels pretty good. Keep in mind, guys, with the Bills' backfield, first of all, it's a pain in the ass to try to predict. Second of all, this was pointed out by Ian Harditz on Twitter, who is the man. The Bills gave both Damian Harris and Latavius Murray basically the same contract. And then there was a report that came out, I think it was last week, maybe 10 days ago or so at this point, that those two are going to compete for similar snaps, first and second down touches. Damian Harris has an ADP of, he just went 138, but he's got an ADP of higher than that. 118. Latavius Murray has an ADP of 200. The Bills' backfield is like the old Patriots' backfield. It's the classic, just go get the cheapest dude because they're all going to produce. So go get the guy who cost you the least amount of capital. So I'm not really drafting Damian Harris this year. It's either go ahead and roll the dice on James Cook because he's the pass-catching guy, and probably the biggest play threat, or just punt it to Latavius Murray 200 picks into the draft. I will say my roll of the dice to take Roschon Johnson instead of a wide receiver at my last pick is paying off. There are wide receivers that I like down here, not as many running backs I like down here. Although I don't mind Devin Singletary this cheap. I will say that. I don't mind Devin Singletary this cheap. I will not be drafting Ezekiel Elliott. I don't care if he re-signs with the Cowboys. I don't care if he ends up on a team with a great offensive line. I will not be doing it. Zeke has reached the threshold where he maybe he's like 50 carries away from that 1,800 carry threshold. There's no way. There's just no way. Or he may be already crossed it. I can't do it. There's no way. So 5 picks away. I can grab some tight end. I could grab another tight end down here too if I wanted to. Ooh, I could grab Sam Laporta and pair him with Goff. I don't hate that. I don't mind Dulcich at his lower value too. The Broncos traded for Adam Troutman, but like, who cares? I'm going to be a little thin in my receiver depth, but I'm top heavy there, so I feel okay about that. Higbee's also really, really cheap down here. I'm not chasing the Irv Smith hype. I know he's attached to Joe Burrow now. I just don't want to chase that. All right, what am I going to do here? I could use another quarterback. I don't know if I feel great about Jordan Love. I could grab Bryce Young. Actually, I'm going to punt. I'm going to punt at quarterback and hope that Kenny Pickett is available to me a little later because I have Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris. So, let's see. You want guys that like have some opportunity for some ceiling plays here. Let's grab Rashid Shaheed. He's an exciting young player. And then I am going to grab Laporta and pair him with Goff. I'm just going to go for the upside tight end. I don't need to necessarily rely on him. I have David Njoku. But let's roll the dice on this little stacky stack. Again, especially, he's a guy who could get a little bit more involved early on. Obviously, young tight ends, you can only expect so much from them starting off. But with Jameson Williams missing the first 6 weeks of the season, they might they might be hoping he can help them sooner than later. So I'll grab that. There's Trey Lance. That's the most interesting. That's the name of the game today, baby, right? Like, what's going to happen with the San Francisco 49ers quarterback situation? I feel like Trey Lance is going to be the guy. I really do. I think no disrespect to Brock Purdy, I think it's coach speak and off-season smoke that there's this suggestion that Purdy is whatever they've been saying, leader in the clubhouse, so to speak. Damn it. There goes Kenny Pickett. No. See, like when you have guys that as the draft materialize, they become your guy that you want, you just got to take him. What's his ADP though? Like I don't want Okay. He's 15 picks above ADP to a guy who needed a quarterback. I mean, all right, fine, whatever. Damn it. All right, there's some other options down here. I might be able to grab one of the rookies. I don't know if Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud is going to fall to me, but it's possible. I like that Chase Brown pick at 163. There goes Bryce, so never mind. I like that Chase Brown pick. If I'm going to be worried about Joe Mixon, then be interested in the dude that looks like he might be the direct backup. Chase Brown has already early. Depth charts can change. Depth charts do change, especially this time of year. But Chase Brown, the Bengals are already listing him ahead of Travion Williams and ahead of Chris Evans on the depth chart. So connect the dots, man. If there's a guy you're not crazy about and his backup is 30, 40 picks cheaper, go get the backup. Go grab Chase Brown. So I'm 12 picks away. I'm not going to get Stroud. I do want that third quarterback, though, to kind of just like lock it down for me. Or I don't expect I'm going to get Stroud, and I really don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. Although I do have Devontae Adams, so I mean, I could build the most boring stack of all time. That's assuming the Raiders don't trade Devontae Adams, which I don't think they're really capable of from a financial perspective. Even though he's been, I don't know. Apparently there were reports earlier that he and the Raiders they're not seen eye to eye or something like that. You know. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. If Brady plays QB for the Niners, I don't know. I'll shotgun a beer on the I'll shotgun a beer on the live stream. That would be crazy. Let's see. I'm 9 picks away. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's like I'm down in this range. These are not tight ends I want. So I'm happy I was able to get Laporta. I might be able to get one of these quarterbacks, which I do. I do want a third quarterback. I like Marvin Mims. I really like Marvin Mims. I got him in both of my dynasty drafts. Oh, damn it. There goes the quarterbacks. All right. Well, I'm glad I got 2 when I did, I guess. See, like, now I might have to roll the dice and just, like, I don't want to reach all the way down for Desmond Ridder. I really don't. But if I don't, he won't be there. If I don't reach down for Desmond Ridder now, he won't be available for me. I'll take any one of these receivers, though, as a sixth receiver. I'll take any one of these guys. I'll take Peoples-Jones, I'll take Jaden Reed, or I'll take Van Jefferson. There goes Mayer. All right, I'll take Peoples-Jones has fallen pretty far, and he's a perfect guy for best ball because he's not going to do it for you every single week, but he's going to give you random spike weeks. And in the 15th round, that's all I want. If I don't go all the way down and get Desmond Ridder, I'm not going to get him. He's not going to be available in 20 picks. But I want a third quarterback. Ugh. I don't like this. I don't like this. But I'm going to do it. I want a third quarterback. I don't think I don't want Purdy. Sam Howell, I don't know if he's going to be him or Jacoby Brissett. I still don't trust Washington, even though they got rid of, or even though Dan Snyder sold the team. I'll go Ridder. I know that he's going to be the dude, not just week 1, but they have to ride with him for the season. Like, Taylor Heineke's not that guy. And Sam Howell goes right after. I mean, so yeah, you just kind of have to grab the quarterbacks, right? Like, this guy got stuck with 1 QB. He has Trevor Lawrence, so that's a nice option, but that's your only option. That guy's got to draft Brock. Now he has to draft Brock Purdy or Mac Jones as his QB2. That's gross. But I got 3 quarterbacks, so I'll take it. Yeah, I like Van Jefferson down here too. Um, I mean, Allen Robinson got traded. The Rams didn't draft a wide receiver. I don't think they signed anybody either. I do think he's a pretty good value down here. I do like Van Jefferson for some spike weeks as well. I'm gonna opt for. I think I could be wrong in this, but I think Deshaun Watson's gonna play better this year than Matthew Stafford will. That's a that's a prediction that is not based on much more than a hunch. Um, but that's what I'm going off of. I think Deshaun Watson, now that he's got his sea legs under him, he got 6 games in last year, didn't play great, but having not played for 18 months, got his sea legs back under him. Now he gets a full off season of like normalcy. Watson's still only 27 years old. We've seen him perform at a top 5 quarterback level in the past, in the not so recent past, and still only 27 years old. Stafford is what, 35 at this point, and with a bad back. I'm not rooting against him. I hope I always hope guys can bounce back from injury and play well. It's just like naturally the odds are longer for the guys who are older. That's just fact. But I like Van Jefferson. You can get Van Jefferson in the 17th round or the 16th round. I mean, that's a starting wide receiver in a Sean McVay offense. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I am coming up on the end of my draft here. These are my last 2 picks. I grabbed Njoku and I grabbed Laporta. So I don't think I'm going to... I would love for Jaden Reed to fall all the way down here to me, but I don't think that's going to happen. I would also take Leonard Fournette just because his ADP is in the toilet, and I do expect him to sign in like later this year or later this offseason, probably closer to training camp. This dude took 5 quarterbacks. Why would you take Josh Allen 7th overall and then take 4 more quarterbacks? Come on, man. That's just a bad use of resources, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure crazier builds have won big money before, but if I take Josh Allen in 1 QB 7th overall, I'm not spending 4 more draft picks on quarterbacks. There's just no way. I don't think that's a good use of resources. It's a real good spot for Jaden Reed, I feel like. Let's see. I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take Leonard Fournette because I do think Leonard Fournette's lost a step, but this is the very last round of the draft, and his ADP should go up a little bit sooner, or a little bit whenever he gets signed to a team. So I'll roll the dice on him being my RB6, assuming he signs with a good team. I have to imagine. And then the one offense where wide receiver 1, it's still possible this far down where you could theoretically draft a team's wide receiver 1. And that's the New York Giants. I don't know who their wide receiver 1 is going to be. I guess you could argue that Darren Waller should be their top threat, but outside of Hodgins and Paris Campbell and who else? It's Darius Slayton and it's not Richie James anymore. Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, it's luck of the draw, honestly. So I'll take a shot on Paris Campbell, who the Giants made a point to sign in free agency this year, and with opportunities wide open there. I mean, I'll take a chance. I'll take a chance on that. Let me see if I can show you my team. Slide this over a little bit. It's not the best. It's not the best view, but it'll work. So quarterbacks are Geno Smith, Jared Goff, or wait, can I get the whole board in here? There we go. It's a little bit of a condensed view, but there's my team from the 112. Oh, hang on. All right. There's my team from the 112. A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker. That the 3-4 turn, and then the 6-7 turn for Walker. Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, back to the well with David Montgomery, and then David Njoku, 109, 8 picks into the draft. I got Geno Smith, and then I got Jared Goff to take care of the quarterback situation. I like Roschon Johnson as some rookie legs to my stable of backs. Rashid Shaheed, interesting young player. Sam Laporta, super interesting young athletic tight end, who should have free reign there because T.J. Hawkinson got traded. Peoples-Jones, decent flyer as a spike week guy late in the draft. Grabbed a QB3 a little higher than I wanted to in Desmond Ridder, but I'll take it. I wanted a third quarterback since I didn't get a bona fide stud at the position earlier. And then to round things out, Leonard Fournette with the 204th overall pick. I do expect him to sign somewhere eventually as we get closer to the season. He's a veteran training camp ad. That's what it feels like. And then again, I don't know who the Giants wide receiver 1 is going to be, so I don't mind, just throwing a dart at Paris Campbell with my last pick. See what happens. Happy to take any thoughts on this if you feel so inclined, but there we go. That's the end of this draft. Thanks for tagging along with me on this. This was fun, and hopefully it was informative for you guys as well, or helpful to follow along, or whether it was helpful or not. Hopefully it was just fun. Let me get to this chat now that this is officially wrapped. And there is most of the board. All right, Iron. So here's what we got working here. He would give you the 210 for the 309 and the 509. Yeah, I mean, I would do the 304 and the 50. I would do that trade, the first one, the 309 and the 509. You keep the 604 and the 1109. I would do that first one, Iron. Yeah. Start your team off with a bunch of guys, a bunch of dudes. I would absolutely do that. The second option is less enticing because you're giving up that extra pick. But give the 509 because you're only picking, you pick a few picks later. Was that 7 or 8 picks later at the 604? And then you still keep the 1109. I would do that first trade and just load up on those. You got a bunch of dogs you just listed. I mean, yeah, you'll be a frontline contender. What better way to start a league? Hopefully the audio is fine. I'm sorry if it's a little. Hopefully it's not too bad. I've been tinkering with this as much as I possibly can. Hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, Iron, if that trade is available to you, I would pull the trigger on that. Hell yeah. Like McCaffrey, Saquon, Kelsey, you could get like Diggs or Kupp, and the guys that you mentioned. I mean, yeah, that's gonna be a bona fide contender right off the bat. Why not? You know. Yeah. So probably going to be shutting this down shortly here, but of course, happy to still take questions. Again, the draft is complete. If you guys want me to go through anything specifically that I did, if you guys want me to lay out anything as far as what my thought process was through this draft, or anything specific you want to ask me about, happy to do that. Happy to do more of these. If this is fun for you guys and engaging for you guys and helpful in any way, like you get to see a draft unfold, happy to do more of these. If anybody has an Underdog account, an Underdog Fantasy account, and you guys are available and able to join these, whether it's Best Ball Mania or they'll bring the puppy back eventually. They always do the puppies. Those are $5 entries. Those things fill in days. Happy to do those, but yeah, no, these are fun exercises for me to do in the off season. Hopefully, you guys feel the same way. So yeah, let me know. Theo, as far as Mark Andrews, yeah, I mean he's still relevant. The thing with Mark Andrews is he has been very hot and cold in his career. Had a tight end 1 overall finish a couple seasons ago. In the a couple seasons that have followed, Lamar has had difficulty staying on the field. His play suffered a little bit last year. A little bit. It was a lot of bit. And he wasn't as effective as he was. It's a little up and down, but I think things are turning a corner for not just Mark Andrews, but the Ravens as a passing offense as a whole. Because they got rid of Greg Roman, who did a great job in 2019, right? The Ravens offense was electric. Lamar had his unanimous MVP year where he was absolutely bananas, doing his thing, throwing the ball and running the ball. The run game was efficient, electric, very difficult to stop. And they were able, and Lamar led the league in touchdown passes with a bunch of, let's put it this way, they weren't big names at wide receiver. Like Marquise Brown as a rookie was probably his top option. Did a great job. The offense hasn't been effective as good since then. So Greg Roman had a long rope, a long leash following that season of success that they had, but it didn't materialize in other seasons. They move on from him. They replace him with, is it Monken? I think it's Todd Monken. He comes from Georgia. They're going to open it up. They're going to throw the ball. The Ravens are going to throw the ball more this year than they have, I think, since Lamar has been inserted as the starter. So first time in a while. I think the Ravens as a passing offense are all undervalued right now. I think all those guys, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, are way too cheap. So in Dynasty, go ahead and go out and take a flyer on any one of those guys. And in redraft, if you can get them without breaking the bank, I wouldn't reach for them, but if you can get them at cost or better yet, below ADP, do it. Take them. And that includes Mark Andrews. I think this passing offense is on the up and up. I think they're going to be really good throwing the ball this year, and I think they're going to be as enticing throwing the ball as far as wanting them on your fantasy team more than they have been, again, since Lamar has taken over as the starter. They're going to throw the ball, and Mark Andrews should be a direct beneficiary of that. So hold if you have him. Buy low, quote unquote. Even buy low for Mark Andrews is still going to be a pricey ask, but you can believe in Mark Andrews. You should believe in Mark Andrews for this year. I believe in the Ravens passing offense. I think more than the consensus does, based on the personnel changes they made on the coaching staff, and obviously in free agency adding Odell. The personnel changes that the Ravens have made this offseason indicate to me that they want to throw the ball more than they have, and I think they're going to do that with more success than they have since Lamar took over. Buy Mark Andrews, and I'll just go ahead and run down the list. Buy Lamar. Buy Rashad Bateman. Buy Odell Beckham. Buy Zay Flowers. Yeah, I'm at cost, I'm all in on that. I'm all in on the Ravens at cost. I'm not reaching 20 picks or so just to get them, but I'm all in on that offense as far as relative to ADP expectations. I want those players. I want the Ravens, and that includes Mark Andrews. There's a narrative out there, and we've been trying to dispel this since last year. I have been touting Lamar Jackson as a thrower of the football for years now. You know, there's a moniker out there, right? There's a narrative that Lamar can't throw, Lamar B, whatever, the social media idiots that are out there. Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball. Is this narrative because he's an excellent running quarterback? Lamar Jackson, I think his QBR, when healthy over the past few seasons, is second behind only Patrick Mahomes. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think I'm totally off the mark with that. And again, he led the league in touchdown passes in his unanimous MVP season, catching passes from rookie Marquise Brown and Willie Snead. Obviously, Mark Andrews was on the team as well. Mark Andrews, elite tight end, that really helps. But the wide receiver core was rookie Marquise Brown and Willie Snead. Who else was on that team? Like, who else was he throwing the ball to? But that's my point. Led the league in touchdown passes with that as his stable of weapons. Now he has his best collection of weapons he's ever had, and they're going to throw the ball more, and they're all devalued. So this goes not just for Mark Andrews, but for all of the Ravens. Buy them at cost. Buy them at cost. Yep, I'm wheels up on Baltimore. And if you find in your drafts, as far as the quarterbacks go, especially in one quarterback, if the first quarterbacks are off the board are respectful, and rightfully so, Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, Fields, if those guys all go and you get Lamar after all those dudes, I think that's the QB win of 2023. I think that's the redraft QB win, value, whatever you want to call it, of 2023. I believe in Baltimore, and I think you guys should believe in Baltimore as well. That is the end of my rant. Hopefully that answers the question, Theo. I don't see anything else here in the chat, so I do think I'm going to shut this down. I'm available in the Discord tonight if there's anything you guys want to talk through, or if any questions or random thoughts pop into your head, just drop a note in the Discord. I'll see it eventually. Happy to talk shop. But I think that's going to do it for me today. Appreciate you guys again with the engagement, coming in and hanging out. Again, hopefully this was fun. Hopefully this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. And I'm happy to do more of these if you guys want. But that's going to do it for me tonight. I got another rookie video coming out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Have fun. Stay safe. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everybody.